us here today. You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, how you doing there? My name is Will Poe. Nice to meet you guys. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. We had a chance to talk to Will a few times through Facebook, and we finally got a chance to meet.
Yes.
We had a great long conversation the other day over was it breakfast or lunch? What were we
I think it was more like brunch.
Brunch,
right in the middle of the day, right in the middle of the morning. It was awesome.
Yeah, we had a great conversation. So, Will, first just start out. Who are you, and why are you here right now?
Oh man, I tell you what, couldn't be a better place to be. Number one, like I said, my name is Will Poe, and I do a lot of different things at this age. But mainly, what I do right now is we have a boot camp in Colombia, which is where I reside. I've been residing in Medellin, Colombia for 8 years now. And so at this point now, we're putting together a men's international boot camp where men get together and we collaborate about our experiences in traveling and doing this international travel. And we've been getting together long before the passport bros and COVID. So it's ironic that now with all this stuff going on, it's a perfect time to create what I think is a platform. You know, like I said, we have a lot of brands out there that promote, traveling for men, women, families, but we don't have a platform, a go-to. We don't have a go-to guide. We don't have anything Walmart based where everybody can go to one place and get everything, and we can all add our input. So that's what we trying to build in Colombia, and I'm in Ecuador just trying to relax and get my mind right.
Yeah, he's here having a good time, and I'm harassing him, putting him on camera. But
it's a good thing. Like I say, I love it. This experience in Ecuador was only possible because of social media. I mean, I found the place, went on social media, found you guys, which led me to my taxi guy, led me to the guy that got my apartment, led me to where I eat lunch. And so, by all means, I want to endorse social media and the positive that it has for us traveling, or else I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be in this position right now.
That's right. Well, speaking of social media, obviously with the whole passport bros thing that's kind of blown up over the past few years, social media has helped expand that, make it pretty big. Because I know for a long time I was like, what is a passport, bro? This is when I was even researching us moving here. I was like, what is a passport, bro? But I'm married. I wasn't worried about what a passport bro was. Right. It's me and her no matter what we do.
Right.
Can you break down that term? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who are like me who still don't know what a passport bro is.
It's ironic and it's funny because the passport bro movement, and again, this is a movement, it's a brand. It's not a groundwork which gives you resources. And the brand was for overaged men that had retired, in most cases in the US, that were looking for an income, a way to leverage their income. And they were relocating to places, like I say, from Costa Rica to Brazil, if you're going southern, all the way to the Philippines for financial, like I said, stability in their retirement. Okay, then we get hit with a COVID, okay? And the United States does something, phenomenal in terms of giving away packets of money.
Right.
They gave severance, they gave packets of money, but they also did something called a nomad, called a work from home. They created a situation where overseas jobs came back to the States and people were able to work remotely.
Yeah.
What I don't think the U.S. intended for was for the passport movement of the older men to connect with this newfound work from home system that they had. Right. In no way were they trying to lose economic dollars from people leaving. This is just my opinion. And so what you have now in terms of the definition of passport bro, it's a brand where the men of the United States are, like I say, whether it's for financial reasons or they're upset with the social climate back home, they're looking for a different lifestyle. But again, when you follow a brand and it doesn't give you any, it doesn't give you any guidelines, it doesn't give you any contacts, it doesn't give you any networking skills, it gets you where we are today. Yeah. And we're not in a good place if we don't make some actions, to change it. But that's what Passport Bros is in a naked sense.
All right, cool. So now that we broken that down, I'm gonna ask you this. What is the first bit of advice? And I don't care if the young man is 21 to 81.
Okay.
First bit of advice you would give. I think I know what it is, but first bit of advice you would give if they decide, you know what, I'm gonna exit my home country. I have a way to take care of myself.
Right.
What is that next step?
You know, again, there's instructions, and I did a show on this, and I called it the basic instructions before leaving home. Just a very simple, and no, there's no 1, 2, 3, but just a few things you should do. And the first thing you should do is do your research. I think one of the things that we depend on, just like we depend on GPS, you know what I mean? Just like now, we depend on cable, we depend on social media to do our work for us.
Yeah.
And so, you know, one of the things that I found ironic with the term podcast is you have an individual with no experience in most cases, he may not even have a following in most cases, but you have that same church-like appreciation for their energy, right, and you follow them.
Right.
Well, that's okay when you're at home, but when you start traveling, when you start getting ready to bring in, like you said, your lovely wife or your children with you, you need to add to that. Again, I wouldn't be where I am now without you guys, right, and the honest information you put in your format. So I'm all behind social media, so don't take what I'm saying wrong. But along with their information, we were the first boots on the ground. You know, I came here with my daughter, boots on the ground, using the information you guys provided before I made a decision to relocate here for 90 days. I did not just come here with the information you gave me,
right,
and decided this is it.
Right.
And so to answer that question, like I said, research means, along with the valuable information these people and the energy and time and resources that they're putting in to give you on the boots contact information, you need to come and see for yourself. And especially if you're not moving to South America.
right.
You know, I'm gonna sound a little biased, but South America gives you the same letters and alphabets and numbers,
Yeah.
a very easily language
translatable
to
Yeah.
translate, and the people are okay with you.
Yeah.
You know, as a country.
Yeah.
When you start going the other way, or going to the Middle East, or going to some of these African countries, the whole concept of communication can be different.
Yeah.
Different numbering system, different words, different tribes. And so if you don't do your own research, you know, then it's just gonna make it a lot harder for
Right.
you to to really coexist in that culture.
Right. And one thing on that research note, by no means am I some scholar, some history buff or anything like that. But I find just history, just certain things is really interesting. So whether they be good or bad for the United States or not. So one thing I do know is that the United States has been involved in a whole lot of coups around the world, especially in Central and South America. They've deposed leaders, and there are. You have to understand that even in Central and South America, your money is welcome,
Right.
but you may not be welcomed by the government. So, and understand, like the people, I'm pretty sure most people you run across in Colombia and Ecuador, wherever, they're totally nice.
Right.
Most people are really kind. You have to understand that there are some governments that may think that, like, yeah, I don't want to give any favors to Americans.
Right. Absolutely. You're absolutely
Venezuela's kind of situation they're in
Yes.
because of what the United States did to them and tried to overthrow their government. This is pretty recent. So we have to understand that, you got to do your research. I worked in Kuwait for a year back in 2010. And this is after I had been to Kuwait when I was in the military. But an older Kuwaiti, and this guy may have been in the 60s, 70s at the time, walked up to me in a supermarket at the register. He's like, "Hey, you American?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "Thank you guys saved us from Saddam, in the first Gulf War, '91. I said, I'm out, no problem. I was a teenager at the time, but whatever.
Okay.
He said, "I really appreciate y'all." He said, "But the younger people, the younger generation here in Kuwait, they don't understand." He said they were just born after that happened. They've always had everything they wanted.
Right.
They don't understand, so they don't have the same appreciation for you. And you could see that. You can see that, like, when it comes to like arrogance, American arrogance, we don't realize how arrogant we are until we go to another culture where they're just as arrogant towards you.
Exactly.
And you see that in the Middle East, you'll get some arrogant people. And you're like, oh, hold up, man, who are you talking to?
Right.
Like, but that's the way that we treat people.
Exactly.
And you have to do your research. You gotta know what you're getting into. You gotta know the cultures, the customs, everything.
It's so important. Like I said, this new generation and this new opportunity that we have that have merged together, social media and the passport. I mean, we are doing things that our parents, that nobody in the American history at our economic level has done with ease.
Right.
And there's a certain amount of respect. And again, like I said, and you said, our country has done damage worldwide. Even in our own country. If you look at Hawaii, that's a place we took.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even when you travel there, you have to understand what, and in the future, it's going to be even more. Because these people are hurting. These people are upset. And so we have to understand that our technology is our power. And to use these platforms to build other platforms so that people can now learn. Like I say, entertainment is only one facet.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the education to go with the entertainment, you won't understand what you're looking at. You see if that makes any sense.
Yeah. You don't know what you're doing, and you don't know what to do with the information you have if you haven't fully understood it to begin with.
Exactly. And that's where we are right now.
Right. So, and you know, there's plenty of young guys out there that are like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna move out the country and get me a Colombian woman,
right,
a Peruvian woman. Like, there's more to it. There's more to it than just that goal.
Well, first of all, what the people have to understand is work from home. And again, I know that sometimes we can get deep for people because we're in a platform that doesn't gauge your educational level. We can all look at this information. So some people may not understand what we're talking about. But if you work in an industry where you're not in the building, or your name is not on the side of the building, the only safety net that you have is to live close to the building. Because if you are far from the building and they shut down the company, you have a tsunami, you have a hurricane, anything happens, you no longer have an income stream. But the only difference is you don't live close to the building now. Now you are somewhere where you gotta now try to get back home because you don't even have a job. So I don't think we have fully grasped, you know what I'm saying, exactly what's entailed in this living outside the country. Again, when I moved in 2014, I was the youngest guy on the playing field. You had to have 6 figures in your bank account for at least 3 to 4 years, just sitting there, for it to be the average person that was considered an expat. You only had 2 types. The person that hated the United States and they went to that country to become part of that society. So they would be a school teacher, they would denounce the privileges of the US.
Right.
And then you had the wealthy person who bought property, who came, and he lived in the States. He only owned property there because he understood to live there was a completely different ballgame.
Yep.
We have taken this concept, those 2 people, and have put a middle person in, which is us.
Yes.
And so we want to live here. We don't want to go home. We don't have 6 figures sitting in the bank consistently, which means we're dependent on something. Now, if that something folds, and in our world, it's the electronic money. If any of us log onto the computer tomorrow and it says down for service, people will start jumping off the building. If you hit, because that's your only link to surviving.
Right.
That's how thin this thread is when you talk international.
Yeah.
If you get, that Wi-Fi is more important than water. Because without that, you have that's not how expats retired 20 years ago.
Yep.
They didn't even have internet. The lifeline was not that thin. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that's what people really have to understand is that we're only one satellite going down.
One catastrophe.
One catastrophe that's out of our control. Yeah. Luckily, all the catastrophes now are happening on the ground that don't affect us that are worldwide.
Right.
One thing happens in space. One thing, and we are all in a different situation. Yeah. See what I'm saying? And so that's the reason why I'm here.
Yeah. On that note, we always encourage people to have. Obviously, you want to have as many streams of income as possible. If this is something you're going to do, if you're going to be working as a digital nomad or something like that, you have to obviously know that. Well, what happens if you lose that job? You know, what happens if you're dependent on something else, whether it be your retirement, whatever it is. How are you going to make multiple streams of income? I know it's something simple, but like before we made this move, I said, well, I'm going to make one or at least two. We have three, but 2 YouTube channels. I said, look, it could take 5 or 10 years before I actually start making any money off it. But it's basically free money. It's just me talking in front of a camera.
Right.
And doing something I want to do anyway, which is editing videos. I teach myself stuff because I'm a gadget guy. Mm-hmm. Also, investments.
Absolutely.
Money, you gotta have money saved. You gotta have money invested. Have multiple streams, whatever those streams are. Have multiple streams. Have some kind of backups, because like you said, satellite goes down. If my main bank in the States, for whatever reason, I can't access money, it's not the only one. It's not the only one. We made sure before we left, we had so many multiple points of entry when it came to money,
right,
that wasn't a fear.
Right.
If everything was in one basket, oh, I'd be scared to death.
But there are a lot of people who live that way,
right,
because again, these instructions are not sales points.
Right.
So no one's making videos on this. No one's making YouTube videos on the negative things that are happening out there, because you don't get clicks for that.
Right.
And so there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, when we started our boot camp and we started a lot of this stuff years and years ago, there were certain things that we said, okay, multiple income streams. We did a full show where I took a whole year. We started with 0, and I started with a set group of listeners. These are just listeners. And we picked 10 different skill sets. One was podcast. Nobody had ever done a podcast. One was YouTube. And let me tell you what we did with YouTube. We said, everybody we know has YouTube. YouTube pays you if you look at YouTube, right? YouTube will allow you to download other people's content if they agree to it,
right,
and you can get paid. Now, we're old people, so we don't know nothing about YouTube. But we understand that if you have YouTube and you're not on my YouTube channel, we ain't friends.
Right.
So we said that to like 20,000 people. So we created YouTubes, and we still have to this day, that only we use. If I go to YouTube, unless I meet someone new, I'm going to my daughter's, my friend, I'm going to someone's YouTube channel for the content I'm looking for, because they're downloading the content I'm looking for. I'm not going to a blank YouTube. So we taught people to monetize your circle. This is just your circle of influence, your friends. That was just one. And the same with podcasts, the same with so many other things, direct sales, indirect sales. It's so many opportunities the United States give people,
yeah,
that you have to be willing to put the time in. The time is the only thing that doesn't come for free. But if you're willing to put the time in, you can create small income streams,
yep,
that together,
it combines it,
and you live in somewhere where hopefully it's a cheaper cost.
right.
And so that, along with your main income, should keep you busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. This morning, I had a thought. I was just thinking that, like, somebody had brought up the other day was the U.S. passport is just, it's gold. It's basically
right,
gold. One thing that you got to understand is that whether you leave the States for negative reasons or just because you want just a better life or you want to be able to live a little less expensive, whatever your reason is, I feel like you should never, and I won't say never, but maybe you shouldn't be so harsh against the United States. Like, you can have your criticisms,
right,
but I'm never gonna say like, yeah, I hate the U.S.
No.
I was a soldier. Like, I'm not gonna say that.
right.
But I know what the negatives are, but I also know what the positives are.
Exactly.
Being a U.S. citizen is a huge positive.
Huge.
Because at the very end of the day, no matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, I can still go back to the U.S. if I want.
U.S. never will be denied.
Right.
Never. I look at the U.S. like a family. You know, nobody's family gets along 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
But you will defend even your worst family member in certain situations.
You might have a cousin you ain't talked to in 5 years.
You know what I mean? But if something happened,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, you're going to feel some kind of way.
Yep.
I think we've lost that in the United States.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's because of the very thing we talking about that we love, which is social media. I remember the military had a thing long ago that was called need to know.
Yeah.
And at that time, people were upset because they wanted to know what they didn't need to know.
Yep.
Now that we know everything, we still upset. And we can see how too much knowledge is worse than when you don't have any knowledge. Because at least you don't know.
Right.
And so now we tend to, air our dirty laundry publicly. And now that we're traveling, other people are seeing how disloyal we are to a country that gives us so much. Like I said, doesn't matter. They don't ask when they look at your passport whether you're lesbian, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're transgender, whether you're Democrat, whether you're Republican. Only thing they want to know is it blue and are you a United States citizen? And so, again, I agree with you. Your personal opinion, just like in your family, are just. They are. If you don't like your auntie, you don't have to like your auntie.
Right. But you can love her.
Just.
Yeah.
But you don't have to disrespect her in public because she's still your auntie.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And I think we do that
Right.
to our red, white, and blue flag.
Right.
Anytime we get outside the borders
Yeah.
and get to acting up, and get to acting up, they're the ones who we gonna call to save us. They're
Right.
the ones who we gonna say, you should drop everything in the world.
Yep.
They're the ones we gotta trade a murderer. We gotta trade somebody that's probably done 10 times worse what you done done to get you back because you have violated. The person that we got there because they did something wrong. You got where you got because you did something wrong, but we as a country, we're the only country, by the way, that does this.
Yep.
No other country comes to us and says, give us back Pookie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And nobody has that clout.
Nobody got that clout. But
Yeah.
we will go somewhere and act up,
Act a fool.
act a fool, and then demand that our country give up somebody to get Pookie back.
Yep. And even the people who leave the U.S. and do something dumb,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing they want to say is, "Yeah, I'm an American citizen."
Yep.
So don't on one hand talk down about the U.S. At the same time, take advantage of all the advantages that you get from it. You can have your criticisms. That's separate.
That's just.
separate.
That is just.
But when it comes to YouTube, like you were saying, when you make a YouTube channel, for those of you that don't know, when you make a YouTube channel, you get asked a bunch of questions. And the one thing that's very important is if you're ever going to get monetized, you definitely want to have your YouTube channel based in the US, Canada, or Europe. Somewhere with that uses the euro or pounds, because that's what's going to pay you the most money. If I was to say my YouTube channel is based in Ecuador, my revenue is going to be a little bit lower than it would be had I say in the United States. So that's an advantage that I take care of, that I use, so I can never criticize like, oh man, I hate the U.S., but I'm gonna keep my YouTube channel. No, like you got to be real about it. You got to be real about it.
You got to. And again, I think with these type of platforms, more people will get educated to other things. Again, a lot of this is done because we don't know any better. Like I said, we all in diapers when it comes to this travel, and so we don't really understand what we do. We're the first people to do this.
Yeah.
Like our YouTubers, the ones that are successful. When I do seminars or training with like I say, any other social media guys, I don't classify them as YouTubers or podcasters. I class them as all influencers and social media guys. And I do classes with these guys because they hit brick walls in terms of the fame that they're getting versus being grounded. And that's when usually I get most of the people. Everybody know how to spend the money.
Yeah.
Nobody asks me about that. But the minute they start feeling uneasy in their spirit, they want to come to an older guy.
Right.
And what I try to tell them is that, well, first of all, there's two types of YouTube. We'll be talking YouTube in general. All right. Like I was saying, two types. And then, so first, obviously, like yours, where you're doing all the hard work. Primarily, you, the wife, are creating the content. You are the content.
Right.
And the other YouTube channels where people make the place the content, the other people the content. They just walk around interviewing. Nothing wrong with that. But again, every move we make is a representation of us as Americans in another country. And so when you're getting monetized and you're using other people as your source to get monetized, we have to give back. Because a lot of the stuff you see happening now is the fallout of how we've been acting over the last 5 or 6 years, and they just not catching up to the understanding of what we do. So we basically live in some people are living in their country for free off of the information they showing of them, and they're not getting. So I mean, and again, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. You know what I'm saying? But we have to understand, if we live in somewhere and not visiting somewhere, we're going to get some of those repercussions.
I run into that, morally, where I don't want to feel like I'm exploiting the people or the culture. I just we try to make videos that show, the beauty of where we live, and how different it is, and just the kind of joy that we have doing what we do. And you're never going to catch me out here filming myself, feeding a homeless person or something, because that's if that's something I want to do, that's not something I'll ever put on film.
Exactly. Because it makes them feel some certain kind of way.
Like I'm only doing it because I'm on camera.
Exactly. Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, if I wouldn't do it off camera, I'm not gonna do it on camera.
And that's the beauty of your show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's that energy, which is another reason why I'm here. Like I say, I would not be on different platforms if I didn't believe in what they was representing. And again, I love Ecuador. I've only been here a short amount of time. But the energy here is genuine. Again, most important thing I think we need to do is teach at this point. Along with, again, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. I think, like I said, without entertainment, you don't get consistency. People are not going to consistently go to school. They're not going to consistently go to the gym.
If it's boring,
they're not going to consistently if it's boring. But if you add in, some elements, what I'm saying, like how we should act or, how we should behave, especially for men. I mean, again, because as men, there's more expectation on us to perform and act a certain kind of way. And so it's very important that we continue this dialogue and then get women involved. I mean, because women are starting to travel now. They have different needs. They have different situations. Heaven forbid a female gets in a relationship with a foreign man. And we haven't had this conversation.
These are male-dominated countries.
Male-dominated countries. And so, the women, the child, we come from a culture where we take care of other people's children with the same tenacity we would of our own. Foreign male-dominated countries don't work that way. The majority of those countries have multiple families with the same father. And it's okay. It's the way their culture is. And so it's just a lot we don't know. You know what I'm saying? In terms of our research, which is one of the first things we said you need to do when we start traveling. So, again, like I said, I appreciate this type of format. You know what I mean? Because it's just, it has a bottomless pit.
That's right.
There's just so much.
It's a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole.
One thing, before we wrap up, one thing I wanted to talk about, and it's common sense. And when it comes to safety, what you're doing, how you're acting in these foreign countries. And just to give a quick example, I know that if me and my wife visit Dubai again, I have an understanding that there's a certain way that I know that she needs to present herself. It's not super strict. Dubai isn't super strict, like Kuwait wasn't super strict. But I also know that even though it may be technically legal for her to dress a certain way, it may not be smart. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's smart to do.
Exactly. Well said.
Just like here in Ecuador, it's perfectly okay for me to walk around with my camera. Legally, it ain't smart.
No.
I'm very particular about, and I know people watching might worry about, someone robbing us or whatever. Well, I'm probably less worried about that because of the precautions that we take. If I'm filming, I'm very deliberate about where I film, how I do it, how fast I put my stuff back in my bag and take it back to our apartment.
No, that's again, these are nuggets. We call little bits of information that's pertinent. We call them nuggets. And safety, again, we conduct ourselves completely different back home. If you were in Chicago, Detroit, Philly, East LA, Brooklyn, you would do certain things that for some apparent reason we get on an airplane and we completely get oblivious to what we've learned to do back home. It has nothing to do with international travel. Again, back to the basics. And so, again, your surroundings. The fact that you have your wife with you. Someone else that you have to protect in a foreign country.
At all times.
So you can't put your actions, put her in danger.
Right.
So again, a lot of these things we don't talk about. And again, coming from a macho country where we want to put everything in terms of ego, you said something that hit the point. It's not that you're scared, it's just not smart. Again, this is not a competition.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is about enjoying the experience of being here. And if you're looking over your shoulder, you know, and I want you guys to look at how he's dressed. Look at how we dressed.
Y'all can't, I got sweatpants on.
There's no bling, you know what I mean? This is, if you can see, this is an electronic watch. You know, you're here and you travel to enjoy yourself. There was a statement that I once heard. If you can look at somebody and tell what's in their bank account, they're doing too much.
Yeah.
And so you may have to, you know, sleep on that. But when you internationally travel, that's even more important. You want to be under the radar. You want to be inconspicuous. You want to just kind of blend in. And so if you YouTube, or if you go into a nice dinner, or if you go into the ATM, if you're doing things where you're taking yourself out of that inconspicuous zone and putting yourself on blast, then you need to be aware of what you're doing.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Using their services. If you're going into somewhere to use services, what I do is I practice before I go in. So if I'm going to buy something, I'm gonna say it in the mirror a couple times of what I'm going to buy, so that when I go in, I don't look at, I'm already gonna look like a foreigner.
Right.
I'm already gonna, that's not going anywhere. But I don't wanna make people think I don't know anything, I'm just not prepared.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Again, these is nuggets. You don't have to do it. You know, this is nothing that's gonna change your experience, but it does make you more comfortable, and it makes the person dealing with you that doesn't speak English, because Spanglish only exists in America. There's no such thing as Spanglish in a country where they don't understand English.
Right.
It's just Spanish and being lost.
Right.
So if you say half Spanish, half English, they understand the Spanish and they don't understand the English. There is no Spanglish. So they're just confusing them even more.
Right.
So, you know, these are just little things that I try to do when you talk about safety.
Yeah.
You know, if you had an ATM, better go in pairs.
Always.
Like I said, this single attitude in foreign traveling, again, it's not, we didn't start this. The old timers didn't start this. It ain't smart. Take your wife, take your girlfriend, take your boy. This is a team sport.
Yep.
Let me just say that off the bat. International living is a team sport. This is not golf. You can play it solo, but it's better done in a team aspect.
That's right.
You know, would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. If one thing I know for sure, and this is even when I was in Kuwait, they would encourage us, we could go out and do whatever we wanted. We had apartments in the city. But they would say, hey, look, if at all possible, go with someone else.
The buddy system.
Right, because let's just look at it like this. Look at your typical criminal, kidnapper, whatever. What's a softer target? One person by themselves or two people? If they have to make a choice, they're gonna go for the one.
Right.
It's just an easier target. I tell my wife, you know, it's one of those things you gotta retrain yourself to do. Because back in the States, if my wife, we were going shopping, oh, she'd be all over the place. Oh, I don't know if they got what I want here. Let's go somewhere else. Okay, I don't know here. Let's go somewhere else. No, not here. When we go to the Mercado, especially like down in Centro, I say, all right, what are you going to get? Let's go get that. Bam. Let's go get the next thing. Bam. Let's go get the next thing. Don't look lost.
Right. There you go.
Don't look like you don't know what you're doing. If you look like confident, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, the criminals will see that. They're looking for that. It's like a lion on the Serengeti.
Yep.
They're looking for the one that's a little lost, a little lame,
Looking shaking a little
shaky.
bit.
Yeah. You don't be that. Don't be that soft target.
Don't be that soft target. And like you said, it's easy to not do that.
Right.
With your change, your currency. Another thing you guys did, again, like I said, this social media is incredible if you use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
One of the things they talked about and again, coming from a country where we don't use American currency, in Colombia, you don't think about the size of your denominations because they all use that currency. Well, in Ecuador, they don't want to use anything over like a $10 bill.
Sure enough.
Anything over that, now you looking brand new.
Let's you at a big chain store.
Unless you had a big place.
Yeah.
So when I came, I took that advice. I brought little bills or just my little debit card. And so I can tell when I'm out, if something costs $3 and I have $5, it's a lot smoother transaction than if it costs $3 and I got $20.
Yep.
Now you done created a whole meeting in that place and everybody else knows you got $20.
$20.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so again, these nuggets of wisdom, like I said, are so important.
Yeah.
So important.
Well, Will, look, let me just say, I so appreciate you coming to have this conversation. And y'all know, we've been talking before this and we're gonna talk after this, but I appreciate you coming and having this conversation. And hopefully, we can continue it another time.
Absolutely.
Because I really feel like there's a lot of people out here who just don't have all the information. They're getting all of the, I don't know, flowers and sunshine about living in Colombia, living in, Brazil or Ecuador or Panama. But they're not getting hey, look, there's some things you got to change about your lifestyle.
About you. Some things you got to work on, And again, unfortunately, there's no weeding out process for podcasters, YouTubers, social media people. And so very seldomly you get people that check all the boxes. Been in the military, married, children, relocated. They check the boxes of trust. They check the boxes of having ethics. Some of these people, like I said, it's just a good word, a good energy.
Yeah.
But you don't know anything about where that information is coming from. And so when you're dealing with somebody like yourself and your wife, you got a well-rounded person where it's not going to all be one-sided. And so again, I appreciate being here. I love channels that have husband, wife. I love channels that give a broad, because I'm going to give it straight down the pipe. So if they're expecting a fluff, I'm not the guy. And so I really like being on these type of networks. Hope I'm invited back.
Oh yeah.
And I'm definitely gonna bring him on mine. So
make sure you go ahead and plug it.
Oh, Men's International Boot Camp. You can hit us on Twitter, or is that Instagram at hashtag or Men's International Boot Camp. Or you can go right to our website, which is super easy. Men's International Boot Camp.website. Doesn't get no easier than that.
Yeah.
And check out all our information. Look forward to seeing you guys.
All right. Well, thanks again.
My man.
All right.
All right.